position battle. We'll get on to exactly who's already in there via practice in a short while, of course, when Q2 is ready to rock and roll. You're joining myself, Kiko Giles, up here in commentary. Lewis Sotheby is next to me, and Elliot York will be bringing you the stories and the headlines from pit lane. Lewis, Moto2 thus far this weekend, lots of talking points. I suppose we should start with exactly why Marcos Ramirez is here and exactly why Alberto Ferrandis is going to be a hot topic in this session, because whatever he does, he's going to have the exact same starting place.
Yes, the dramatic incident at the start of the United States Grand Prix with Alberto Ferrandis. He and Sergio Garcia both responsible for incidents that took down other riders. Unfortunately, the incident for Ferrandis led to a broken femur and damage to the ankle for poor Angel Piqueras, who had made a very strong start to his rookie season. Certainly had shown potential in qualifying, was on the front row, of course, in Austin, Texas. Ferrandis' punishment for that is that he will start from the pit lane wherever he qualifies for tomorrow's Spanish Grand Prix. Piqueras, we know at this point that he will be absent here and in Le Mans. Any sort of prognosis beyond that, we'll have to wait and see. But his place this weekend, as you say, will be taken by a local favourite, someone who knows this place very well, Marcos Ramirez.
Yeah, and Marcos Ramirez, of course, no stranger to
look for Angel last time out. Just wanted to get an update on him. We know the injuries he sustained, but how is he feeling and how the team feeling this weekend?
Yeah, we are really sad because Angel is showing us the great potential. We know them. We know that they can arrive MotoGP really soon. But for the team, for sure, it's a big pity because we are doing a very good job. They are preparing to be a surprise in the next coming races. And well, first of all, for sure, the important thing is that they will recover as soon as possible. But anyway, the team has to still pushing. But sure, it's a really, really sad situation because the incident for us is too heavy, and it's something that in MotoGP must not to happen in the future.
I've got to ask about the statement you guys released. We know that Alberto's getting a pit lane start. Did you guys feel that wasn't enough? That it felt like you were asking for a bit more in that statement? Just talk to us about why you released that.
For us, it's easy. It's very easy because when you make a mistake, all the riders can make it, and all the teams must to understand it. But this is not like a mistake. It's something really, really, really dangerous. It's some action that your life is in risk. This is not. We must permit this. We must to be really, really strong. Anyway, we accept it. We know that for the race direction it's not easy to take decision, but for the rookies and for the young people, I think we must change a little bit.
Just wait for Marcos to head out. We've got him on your side of the box this weekend. Marcos brings a lot of experience to the box, obviously a local hero as well. How much can Ivan learn from Marcos' experience this weekend in Jerez?
Yeah, well, I don't know. To be honest, with Marcos, we don't have a big challenge. It's just to try to know about all his comments, because he has, as you say, a lot of experience with the Kalex bike. We are just the 4th race with the Kalex, and we are learning. We're still learning. Sure, we will take this opportunity to learn, to help a little bit more, if we can, to help to Ivan to push a little bit up.
And just finally, Jordi, back on Angel, when can we expect to see him return? I know it's early days yet, but is there a sort of time frame in mind?
We are always really optimistic. We expect that, I don't know, in 2 months or something like that, before the summer break, I expect that Angel is joining with us more or less in 4, 3 races, 5. But anyway, the important thing is that the recoveries will go well, and that's the main thing now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordi, and good luck this weekend with Marcos and Ivan.
Thank you.
Thank you, El. Thank you, Jordi. First things to say, I suppose. Get well very, very soon, Angel Piqueras, because he was really lighting it up in Moto2, and obviously no fault of his own. The second thing to pick up on all of that is the team were not happy with what it's got to be said is the MotoGP stewards, the FIA MotoGP stewards, not race direction. That's more of the running of the race, not the stories and the incidents that happened within. They weren't happy. It looked to me like they were calling for more. The only real thing they could do more is either bolt on a few long laps or a race ban. Alberto Ferrandis, at the end of the day, made an innocent mistake, and as Geordie said, everyone can make a mistake. It's about learning from it, and probably the safest and smartest decision that all of the stewards could come to collectively is that, well, you can't put him at the back of the grid because look at what he did in Kota. Of course, Alberto Ferrandis isn't looking to try and do that. It's an innocent mistake with massive consequences, but innocent mistakes can happen and they can bring massive consequences. So to try and limit that, starting from pit lane, but he still turns up for the Grand Prix. Yeah,
Ferrandis will know better than anyone the gravity of the mistake he made in Austin. As you say, it was an innocent mistake. There was no malice involved in it whatsoever. So I think the stewards got that one absolutely right. He will learn from that penalty. I can also understand potentially the slightly emotional response from the MSI team, given that Angel Piqueras had made such a bright start to life as a Moto2 rookie. On the subject of injured Moto2 rookies, we're glad to report that this young man is back. Luca Lanetta for the Speed RS team on the number 32. Of course, he was involved in that crash with Sergio Garcia back at the Thai Grand Prix, which fractured his leg. Lanetta, of course, missed both Goiânia and Austin, but he is back in action here.
He is indeed, and rather annoyingly, from a stats point of view, this is his debut.
Yes.
Riddle me that one, because whoever's listening, if someone's listening who makes up that rule, please change it, because it's very, very frustrating. Obviously, Luca Lanetta did not have his debut in Buriram because he actually took the original start on the grid. He actually took the restart of that original start, but it was that incident that brought out a red flag, and then because he didn't start the third restart, or the third start, the second restart, he's considered as not having made his debut. Utter lunacy.
Lanetta will be saying, hey, never mind having made no starts. I've made 2 of them already in my Moto2 career. Unfortunately, the second of them led to that incident with Sergio Garcia. Garcia, who we will see in qualifying 2. He has a double long lap penalty to serve this weekend, not for the collision with Lanetta back in Buriram, but for his role in that same incident that involved Ferrandis back in Austin. We'll see him in Q2.
Yes, Garcia was in a little bit deep, but he was saying that he reacted to Alberto Ferrandis absolutely charging in. Whatever it is, it's a double long lap penalty. So unfortunately for Sergio Garcia, who is still trying to make, is it his 50th start in the class? I think he's had that running for what, 4 or 5 GPs now. He hasn't been able to get it over the line. Sergio Garcia, all going well, will make his 50th start, even if, again, Lewis, he technically did in Buriram.
Well, Joe Roberts here on screen makes his 150th Moto2 start here this weekend, a milestone for the American, who I guess knows better than anyone that if you qualify in the midfield, you can find yourself in trouble, because he was tailgated by the then championship leader, of course, Danny Holgado, at the start of the race in Austin. He currently leads this session, does Roberts, on a 140.547. In the Moto3 qualifying session that we've just completed, we won't tell you who got pole position in case you're watching them out of sequence, but they did ultimately get down to the sort of lap times they were setting yesterday by the end of Q2. Fastest lap of the weekend so far in Moto2 is a 138.9, a new lap record for the Austin winner, Senna Aegis.
And absolutely worth noting that just like in Moto3, this is the first dry running of the day for Moto2. It was damp earlier, it was damp for MotoGP. That's why I can't wait for the sprint, Lewis, coming up in just about an hour and a quarter, because it's going to be the first real dry running for them as well. I tell you what, Alberto Ferrandis may well be starting for pit lane. He was right out to the edge of the curb, though, so he's pushing on here. Of course, if Ferrandis gets in the top 4, he's nicked a spot off someone, and he does go through to Q2 to fight for what could be a pole position, of course. Alberto Ferrandis might have to be going some to try and do that, though. He's not really troubled Q2 too much so far. Has been able, though, to get in there back in, according to my notes, back in Brazil, but then I have him down as 24th on the grid, so maybe I've got my ones mixed up there.
Yeah, some wires crossed potentially. What you can say about Ferrandis, though, is that he's made progress. He's gradually improved through every Grand Prix so far this season. 26th on the grid in Thailand, 24th in Brazil, and then 20th in Austin, Texas. Yellow flags have come out, though, in the second sector. It's a bike stoppage by the looks of it for poor Luca Lanetta, who's currently in 8th place. Leathers look immaculate. It looks like he's pulled over. I think he's between turns 4 and 5 there.
Yeah, he is. Turns 4 and 5 coming out of turns 4. Turn 4 up towards turn 5 there, but he pulls it off. I was going to say sector 2. He hadn't seen too many yellows around there this weekend at all. So Luca Lanetta, well, his Q1 session here in Moto2 qualifying has come to an abrupt halt. Elliot, what have you got for us down in pit lane?
Yeah, I think I pressed the wrong button, so everyone knows I've got Alex De Angelis with me. Alex, great to speak to you. Of course, we've got to start with Alberto Ferrandis. Obviously, disappointment last time out and a pit lane start. How do you guys view the incident? And I guess you guys accept that he made quite a big mistake. What's the team feeling so far this weekend?
Yes, of course it was a mistake, but the point is he's very young. It was the third race in the World Champions, and he didn't have like the time in Moto3, so he's like a very rider new in this World Championship. So this small mistake become a very big issue in the first lap. So we are really apologize for everybody for what happened, but it's something that we hope never happen, but it happened. So we just wish that Alberto from this big mistake will understand that he must pay more attention, and all the rest is experience.
I've got to ask about the MSI team also releasing that statement. How did you guys receive that, asking for maybe a potential bigger penalty for Alberto? How did you guys receive that?
No, actually we expect this kind of a penalty. We are agree, of course. We didn't make any issue about that, and we just wish that he can make a good race and not make the last all the race, because he cannot learn. He must learn, and if you start from the pit lane, it will be the last probably all the race. But we're trying to take him calm and make this experience.
And on the other side of the box, we've got Ethan Guevara in such great form, but he's also got a 3-grid place penalty coming up tomorrow. How has Ethan felt this weekend? He just got into Q2 yesterday. Is he feeling pretty comfortable on the bike? Is he struggling a little bit more? What's the feeling on his side of the box?
About Ethan, yesterday we were more happy respect the morning, because we make a good step. He were faster, but then we came to know about the penalty. 3 positions are not a big disaster if you will be able to do a good practice like qualifying. And the point is that the next penalty will be much more strong. So he must be very attention in what we'll do from now to the forward race.
All okay after the crash as well this morning at turn 1? He's all okay in the bike?
The bike was a very small crash, and him is completely okay. So everything is okay for later.
Thank you, Alex. Good luck later on.
Thank you.
More penalties down at the Blue Crew Pramac Yamaha squad, and Ipswich Town have had in the 2025-2026 championship season. But yes, of course, thank you very much. That's a very niche reference. Any championship fans will know that. But on a serious note, and is a very good point Alex De Angelis has made, is that if you penalise Alberto Ferrandis more and you give him the race ban, he comes back to his next race without a penalty to serve, and he's learnt nothing. So I understand Alex De Angelis, and we all agree with this Simon Crafar et al. On this one, because they've got it right. He's got to learn his experience. It's a fair point. He didn't come through Moto3, but he's got to serve a penalty of some kind. So the best way is have him at the Grand Prix, but pit lane starting.
Yeah, a race ban feels to me a bit like an elephant gun to kill a mosquito, really. It's way too much for the actual penalty, the actual incident for Alberto Ferrandis. Essentially, in a roundabout way, he has been banned for this Grand Prix, because by starting from the pit lane, unless we get some sort of red flag midway through the Grand Prix, he's essentially going to be riding around at the back.
Well, we say about red flags in Grand Prix, but we've had one every single weekend at the moment. So hopefully in Europe that all kind of goes away, and we can carry on with a proper lights out to checkered flag Grand Prix style weekend for all classes. But yeah, gotta say I completely agree with Simon Crafar. The decision was correct, and at the end of the day, they've got to learn. Nice to see that the Prima Pramac Yamaha squad.
Some Boscoscuro solidarity down there.
Yeah, started helping out the Boscoscuro lot. Of course, we all know why that is, though, because the Prima Pramac Yamaha squad are on them indeed here. But the official, as you could say, I suppose, Luca Boscoscuro team, just getting a helping hand down there. You see Toprak Razgatlioglu in the background here. We're looking at Dennis on. No, we're not. We're looking at Aaron Canet, and he's going out now. But Dennis Onchu, of course, is in that Elfmark VDS crew, and Dennis Onchu at the moment is up in third. Just give you a quick recap of this Q1 session. We've had a lot of interviews and a lot of debate, and we've got a lot to get through here. So Tony Arbolino, who was quick in the wet this morning, P1, Joe Roberts second, Dennis Onchu third, and Adrian Huertas, who's had a podium here back in his World Supersport days, the first race after he was World Supersport champion back in 2024. He's there in fourth. Then it comes Sasaki, Ramirez, Canet, Lanetta, Zonta van der Goorberg, Tayo Frivasato, Jorge Navarro, Alberto Ferrandez, Jose Antonio Rueda, your winner here last year in Moto3, and Philip Salac plumb last at the moment, but 6.2 seconds off the pace. You get the feeling he's yet to put a banker in.
Yeah, Salac is currently on an outlap, so he's about to start what will be his penultimate time lap of the session. Arbolino on a 40.3. I'd say he's in a relative safe position, but of course Moto2 is so tight, and we're expecting these lap times just to gradually improve as we go through the session, as more Pirelli rubber is put down on the circuit. Arbolino looking to join his Fantic teammate Baltus in qualifying to Baltus on the hunt for back-to-back pole positions in Q2 shortly.
Arbolino's gone very well through this first sector as we clock eyes on Ayumu Sasaki. This is Arbolino now just in the braking zone down towards turn 6, struggling to get that thing stopped, runs it right through the middle of the corner, and I did think he's going to have to bail out of that, and he does indeed. So Tony Arbolino is not going to be improving this time around. We pick up Dennis Onju now coming through turn 7, firing it up, picking it up just briefly, and then he's going to throw it into turn 8, and he's a quarter of a second up halfway round. Yeah,
he's been fast at times this weekend, as Dennis Onju. He had a crash in at FP1 yesterday when he was up inside the top 6, so there have been one or two signs of encouragement and promise and potential to move forward for the Mark VDS team. Canet at the moment is on an out lap. He's just about to come round and start what will potentially be his final flat. I think that's him getting out of the way there of Onchu, who's targeting the first 139 of the afternoon.
Yes, Onchu is absolutely sideways on through turns 11 and 12. I can tell you off screen, Luca Lanetta has headed back out, so Lanetta not done and dusted just yet, perhaps. I think he's running, is that him rolling down pit lane? He's going to be...
he's going to struggle to get around, isn't he?
He's not going to get out in time, is he, at all? So, yeah, looks like that might be out for a practice start, and that is that. Red sectors everywhere. Huertas up to P1, Onju second. Now we pick up Phil Salac, who's down in last place at the moment. Does he go from last to first? No, goes fourth, though. Briefly, wasn't good enough. Roberts comes in, Ramirez, Captain Andalucia moves into P4, so Arbolino, who was P1, is back in 5th now, and he's not moving through to Q2. Sasaki, though, fantastic. Brilliant lap, the first 39 of the day, 39.988.
Yeah, he said yesterday they felt they were on the right track down there at the Momovan RW squad. Sasaki has been on the wrong side of some very fine margins this season, narrowly missing out on Q2 on several occasions already this season by hundredths, if not thousandths of a second. At the moment, Sasaki is in good position to move through, and good lap to that from Huertas on the 99. He's taken back-to-back points finishes in Moto2, never though so far in his 22 Moto2 starts, as he scored in 3 consecutive Grand Prix.
That is absolutely correct. Last year he qualified a bit down the field, I think, 23rd, got through to 13th though, so if we can get into Q2, that takes out a lot of work on tomorrow afternoon. So Adrian Huertas obviously knows this track really well from his World SBK paddock days. At the moment, putting it to good use in P2. Across the line, Zonta van den Goorberg can't join his teammates up in the top 4, 8th for him.
Canet looks like he might be about to get somewhere near his teammate inside that top 4. I have to say, if Ramirez can get himself into Q2, that will be a fine effort. Of course, he does have plenty of Moto2 experience and knows this place better than most. And of course, the World Supersport regular these days with the QJ Motor Squad. And given that they sponsor the MSI team, I guess he was the obvious replacement down there once Angel Piquera has picked up his injury. We're following at the moment the 54 Ferrandez ahead of Arbolino, who needs to try and bounce back into the top 4. He does that. Canet also moves up, and Onchu is turfed out. He drops to 5th.
And he's taken a checkered flag, so Dennis Onchu has been usurped by his teammate, Aaron Canet. Well, what about that then? I was just about to say that Aaron Canet has never been off the front 4 rows of the grid here in Jerez in Moto2, and write him off at your peril. Canet half a tenth off Sasaki, but that's good enough. I tell you what, it's tight, isn't it? 0.06 of a second between Canet and Onchu. Arbolino's just 1,000th behind Canet as well. Jose Antonio Rueda comes across the line. That's 11th in this session for him, so that's going to leave him pretty downfield for his first Moto2 home GP. But Ayumu Sasaki in the 39s, everyone else in the 140s, and it's 140 flats that were good enough for everyone, but not Dennis Onchu. 0.05 of a second, that is all.
Yeah, so close. Just on the wrong side of those fine margins, which you saw from the way in Moto2. So Marc Vidies do get one rider through, and one rider misses out. Van den Goldberg looks like he's going to struggle to get into the top 4 unless he does something truly heroic in this final sector. Might just move him up ahead of Salach as he comes across the line. That's exactly what he does, up into 8th place. So much like the Marc Vidies team, RW have one rider through and one rider eliminated.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, I've got to say, for Zonta. He shakes his head as he works his way down towards turn 2, but Ayumu Sasaki gets the job done. Good stuff indeed from him. He qualified here. He's only done one Grand Prix here in Moto2. He qualified here last year in 27th place, and he was up on the 3rd row back in P7 in 2023, and that was in Moto3. So Ayumu Sasaki, obviously not perhaps the fastest of riders around here, but he's done just enough at the moment to move through into Q2 ahead of Adrian Huertas. Good job by the number 99, I've got to say there. Fantastic from Adrian, who's had a bit of an injury hit last few months, it's got to be said, but now we're back in Europe. Let's see what he can do. Aaron Canet just about scrapes through, doesn't he, ahead of Tony Arbolino. You can see what it means down there in the Italtrans box. Ha! Adrian Huertas looks like he's won a Grand Prix. Brilliant.
Pumped up, and quite rightly so. Is Huertas has had so much ill fortune over his short Moto2 career with injury. I think he deserves a bit of good fortune.
I think he does, and just before we cut, Diogo Moreira was down there with his title-winning team from 2025. So good to see Diogo Moreira. He's only got an hour or so to go until lights out for the sprint, but he's still got a bit of time to enjoy himself down there in the Italtrans box. Good job from Ayumu Sasaki. He goes through and he's P1 in Q1 in Moto2, and looks a little pretty chilled out there, doesn't he? Looks like he's just had a little run around the track, and let's see what he can do. I'll tell you what, 39.9, that ain't slow round here.
Yeah, it was a 38.9, the fastest lap of the weekend so far. But of course, there was plenty of rubber down when they set those lap times yesterday afternoon.
Oh dear.
First session of the Moto2 weekend. Frustration for Joe Roberts, sort of hand on the shoulder to try and make him feel a little happier with life from his crew chief there, Lucio Nicastro. Neither of the American racing riders through in that session. Salach did eventually get himself a representative lap time on the board, but only good enough for 9th. His teammate Roberts 6th, and he was only 0.13 of a second off the fastest rider of the session.
Probably not the best time to go down and ask for an autograph or a selfie, you get the feeling of down there for Joe Roberts. Tony Arbolino was in cahoots there with Fabio Quartararo. Arbolino does just about squeeze through into Q2, but Ayumu Sasaki leads the charge, Lewis.
64 thousandths of a second covered the top 5 in that session, and 4 of them went through. Sasaki, Huertas, Canet and Arbolino were those 4. Untuned 5th ahead of Joe Roberts, who we saw how he felt about 6th place. Marcos Ramirez 7th for his home Grand Prix ahead of Van den Goldberg, Salach, Forasato and Rueda. Luca Lunetta, after his mechanical issues, 12th ahead of Jorge Navarro, and Alberto Ferrandis qualifies last anyway. He'll move from last place on the grid to the pit lane tomorrow. So Ayumu Sasaki advances to the battle for pole position in Moto2. A team will battle it out for those crucial front 6 rows of the grid. Moto2 Q2 is up next.
Here we go then, it is crunch time, it is time to go for pole. Moto2, Spanish GP, pole supremacy. Who's it going to be? The Circuito de Jerez, Angel Nieto. What a place to have a Grand Prix in this part of Spain. Normally it's pretty sunny, and depending on what angle you have of the camera, it is sunny. But out up towards turn 1, dark clouds are looming large over this fantastic circuit, and it is busy in here. So even though if it does rain, I'm fairly sure the fans won't be having their spirits dampened. We are going to get ready then for Moto2 Q2. It's the pole position shootout. This is Jerez, and this is Saturday afternoon. This is going to be what it's like at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. The light show, the traditional light show, is going to be kicking off. The only thing that will be different is that it's going to be pitch black, and that they'll all have to get their torches out. More on that tomorrow. This is Q2, then Senna Aegis leads to charge in this one ahead of Alonso Lopez and Barry Baltus. Colin Via there as well, Danny Holgado, Ethan Guevara, Danny Munoz, Mario Aggi, David Alonso, Manu Gonzalez, Alex Escridge, Ivan Ortola, Sergio Garcia's back in action as well as Celestino Vietti. And joining them, Ayuma Sasaki, Adrian Huertas, Aaron Canet and Tony Arbolino. Lots of work to do. Those four moving through from Q1. But of course now the other 14, they were the fastest yesterday, and now the dry conditions are back out here at Jerez. You're in the company of myself, Kiko Giles, up here in commentary. Alongside me is Lewis Sotheby. He's going to be staying put and bringing you the Tissot sprint with Matt Burt in just about an hour's time, more maybe a little bit less until they go on air together. And Elliot York is somewhere down there in pit lane. Jack Appleyard, of course, will be taking over from him when we get our first MotoGP racing action underway very, very soon. But Moto2 Q2 is the attention for now, Lewis, and I've got to say, Senna Aegis mightily quick on Friday. Is he the favourite coming into this one, mate?
I think he is. Senna Aegis, a 38.973 yesterday, a new all-time lap record around this Jerez circuit in Moto2. Fast in all conditions so far this weekend, and we have had all conditions from the drive yesterday to the wetter this morning, back dry once again this afternoon. It feels, certainly from the sessions we've seen so far, this is something of a shootout between Senna Aegis and Barry Baltus, who of course ended up taking pole position last time out in Austin once David Alonso's tyre pressures had been closely examined. But as is often the case in Moto2, it is fiercely close, so one small mistake or potentially one very special lap could make all the difference.
Yeah, and it really could be both of them at this point of the weekend as well. The limit is so finite in Moto2 at the best of times, let alone when most of these riders are going out on a dry track for the first time today. Conditions a little bit different to yesterday. You can see that the suntan lotion is being worked in for the fans around here. I've got to say though, Lewis, it'll be dry for this one, but the MotoGP sprint, an hour's a long time around here in Jerez. The clouds have rolled in. We had a perfect vista when we came up here over an hour ago now. For Moto3, the clouds are closing in on us here at Jerez.
Yeah, even with our tinted windows, it is getting noticeably darker over ahead. We're directly looking onto the main straight from the grandstand, so essentially from where the clouds are coming from, they're coming from what sort of turn 6, turn 7 area of the circuit. So we'll keep an eye on it. It would appear, certainly given how much blue skies up ahead of us, that we should get away with a dry Moto2 qualifying 2 session, which is good news for this man, Manu Gonzalez, after once again a far from impressive wet showing this morning in FP2.
Yeah, you get the feeling that Manu Gas might well just have to iron out his wet weather problems, Lewis, because next up Le Mans, well, you just have to look at last year's Grand Prix to see how wet that was in MotoGP. Barcelona, that's not a given dry weekend. Neither's Mugello, and Balaton Park's moved to June, so we could have a little bit of tricky weather coming our way very soon. And then after that with Brno, and that's earlier this year, and we had a wet one last year.
Yeah, Manu Gonzalez can't afford really to have that sort of weakness in his game if he is to challenge for a world championship. You could see the applause there down at Aspar. Perhaps they've just wished a happy birthday to young David Alonso, who's ended life as a teenager. He is now the tender age of 20.
Oh, he's achieved so much, and he's 7 years younger
than
than
me. In a lifetime.
I know, he's 7 years younger than me, and I just feel so pathetic, really. I've got to be saying it. The Colombian is one of the nicest people in the paddock. You couldn't wish to meet someone much nicer, really, than David Alonso, and he is going places. He's going out on track in a moment, that's for sure. Before we do get on with this one, we're about to go green in 3, 2, and now 1. Green lights are out and Moto2 head out. Let's get our first thoughts for this one ahead of Q2. Elliot York, who have you got with us?
Yeah, thank you, gents. I've got Jürgen Ling with us, obviously team manager at Liquid Money Dynavolt Intact GP. Senna, what a win last time out with everything that's gone on this year. Well documented. How impressed were you by that performance? And he's also carried it on this weekend as well.
Yeah, we are very impressed. I mean, first of all, winning a race in Austin is unique because it's a really difficult track and you can't do any mistake, and he did not. And also the battle was really nice to see it the last lap. But he shows, I want to win, and he did it, and this was really super good. We felt already on Saturday that he's performing well, but first you need to finish, and he did very well. And the next thing is, we had in the past, we know he has something special, but sometimes after good race he suffers the next race. But now it looks like we become a bit more constant, and this is super important because yesterday everybody have seen the lap was crazy. So it's really good, and now we hope for good qualifying, that he can have a good position on the grid for tomorrow.
He obviously got his debut pole position over in Thailand, but he said in Austin that he found a step forward in terms of his base setting. The team had changed some things, and he feels even better. And he said yesterday that he's riding better, than he's ever been. So just how strong is Senna at this moment in time?
Yeah, of course, it's always a combination between the rider and the bike, and they did a small step, especially in the front. He feels much better. In the past, he often suffers on the braking areas. He can't stop the bike as he wanted, especially since the grip level was not there, but now they found something which helps him a lot, and this gives him a lot of confidence.
And obviously Manu on the other side of the box is the championship leader again. Looks like he struggled a little bit yesterday. Of course, a runaway race winner here last year. So how's Manu feeling, obviously coming here, home Grand Prix championship? It must be pretty good, but maybe a sluggish start yesterday, let's say.
Yeah, for him it's not that easy. Even we have to consider he's still faster than last year, where he did the all-time record, but this shows this category, and he's still missing something with the new bike. For him it's not the same as last year, but he's not that much missing. And I think also if you see yesterday, the gap wasn't that big. This shows not the position. The gap was nearly nothing, and what we have seen also, the pace is good. So I just hope for him to have the perfect lap in the qualifying, because a good position on the grid is very important.
Thank you for your time, Jürgen, and good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jürgen. Thank you, Al. We'll be back down with you very shortly, mate. Don't worry about that. But a lot of interesting stuff to get into. Manu didn't perform yesterday, Senna did, but both still looking to try and refine their packages. Not 100% happy.
Although Gonzalez looks like he's slightly faster through the first few sectors on this lap. He just getting a little bit caught up there with Danny Munoz on the 17 Italtrans bike. Both Italtrans riders, as you can see, because Huertas is right behind him, are through to this Q2 session. We'll expect 39s right from the get-go in this session, and that's what we're going to get from Munoz. 39.6 for him. So clearly he wasn't holding up Senna Regis. He was faster than him and towing him up around to a 39.6. Lopez straight into second on a 39.9. We remind you the fastest lap of the weekend is a 38.9 as the yellow flags come out in sector 4.
Now where is that? Is it the last corner? Can't see any yellow flags on it. We just can't quite see the other side of the bridge down at the final corner. If it isn't turn 13, then it's a big one, because it's the fast rights that end the lap. Turn 11, Sergio Garcia, turn 11, dearie me. Elliot York was just in our headset saying it's absolutely not turn 13, and now we know where it is. Good to see him up on his feet and walking away, but you get the feeling that this could be pretty sizable for Sergio Garcia, who is already coming back from what's been a little bit of an injury hit season. His qualifying, he's got to do a double long lap yet, so his weekend goes from appalling to atrocious.
Yeah, he was already up against it from the double long lap penalty. He's now going to have to serve that from 18th place on the grid. A blow for Garcia. We pick up Aegis then through the Palucchi section, the stadium. There's barely a spot to be found on the hillsides there on the outside of those two right-handers, and Aegis has looked the pick of the bunch so far this weekend in pure dry conditions. I think we're about to see more evidence of that here in this session. He continues to lead Munoz, who continues to set pretty fast sector times himself. It's Baltus on a 39.6. The rider who we think is his likeliest challenger is about to take pole away from him.
Across the line they come then. Senna just looking to get back on pole position, and he does provisionally for the moment. Fastest time of the day by only 4,000ths of a second though. Look, I tell you what, Alex Escridge, Celestino Vietti, David Alonso, red sectors absolutely everywhere here around the track at Jerez. This is the 13 of Celestino Vietti, looking to go to provisional pole if he can, and he can't. P4, Baltus. Look at that, Baltus, your pole sitter from last time out, goes into P1, but a 39.605. It's only the narrowest of margins, Lewis, but it's just enough.
Well, Alonso got stuffed by the yellow flags on his previous lap, that crash for Garcia. This time, though, the path is clear. The flags are green for David Alonso. And is he about to have a green light to go to the pole position that he should have started from in Austin, Texas, before the tyre pressures were investigated? Alonso over the line. Is it pole position on his birthday? At the moment, the answer is yes.
He can have his cake and eat it then here on Saturday at Jerez. Fantastic. 39.368, David Alonso. Well, Colombia never had a pole position in Moto2. They should have, but they didn't have last time out in America. Have they come to Spain expecting? Well, your answer at the moment would be yes, but we're only halfway, not even halfway through this sector, this session. We're picking up Manuel Gonzalez. This is his teammate Senna Aegis, who at the moment finds himself on the middle of that second row. So Senna Aegis at the moment 5th, having had his first outing so far today.
Yeah, teammate Gonzalez down in 13th. We covered his struggles with Jürgen Ling and pit lane. Here he is. We've got Danny Holgado down in 17th place as well. So the top 3 in the World Championship are all deep on the grid at the moment. Gonzalez 13th, Guevara at 2nd in the Championship is 11th, but remember, he will drop 3 places from wherever he qualifies, so he'd drop back behind Gonzalez, and Holgado down in 17th. The highest placed Championship front at the moment is Celestino Vietti, and he's only up in 7th.
Yeah, it's not brilliant there, really, for your main title heavyweight. We, of course, discount David Alonso at this stage because after the first 3, he's not really been, let's say, firing on all 4 cylinders. Just on his teammate Danny Holgado, he was a bit higher up. He had his lap time deleted for exceeding track limits. So Danny Holgado is now in the pit lane. He's down in 17th place. He's even behind Aaron Canet, and that has not been something you could say too often this year for the number 96. But into pit lane comes David Alonso. At the moment, provisional pole, but halfway through this session, this is the lull in proceedings that we always get in Moto2's pole shootouts, and soon enough we will be out there going for broke in the final run on Saturday.
So a Skridge at the moment on for a second front row in the last 3 on the forward bike for the Clint team. Second for him, and that is no fluke or no surprise. No. Remember, a Skridge smashed the lap record here in pre-season testing. Of course, not an official lap record because he didn't do it at a Grand Prix weekend, but he did a 1:38.8 in pre-season testing back in February. So there is no shock to see a Skridge up in second place. And we haven't seen much of Colin Via so far, but the Red Bull KTM IO rider currently completes that front row.
Oh, look at Celestino Vietti. I tell you what, we said a little while ago that maybe they'll be a little bit more conservative with using the white line and curbs. Not really for Celestino Vietti. He was riding that like he stole it across the rumble strips there in the braking area for turn 1 here at Jerez. And yeah, not a total surprise to see him go onto the runoff and completely blow the apex. This is going to be pretty exciting on board. Oh, dearie me. Bucking Bronco, but gets it pulled down, doesn't go in the gravel. Just on another thing for Alex Skridge, he may not have scored any points here last year, Lewis, but he has got a European Moto2 victory to his name. His first one came here 4 years ago, so he likes Jerez.
Yeah, and he's in the best run of form of his Grand Prix career, and it's clear that that forward chassis is taking steps forward, which is good to see for that team. We've been waiting long enough to be able to put the trajectory of the team next to the name of the chassis, and it would appear now as if Skridge is taking them in the right direction. At the moment, second place, which would be one better than his 3rd on the grid that he took in Koreania.
Yeah, not particularly a great time to be a Mr. J. Navarro, though, when you're seeing your teammate do that up the order. Alex Skridge provisionally on the front row. Right then, run 2, the final run for pole position. Let's see what we've got then. Let's see what these guys are made of. Ethan Guevara, we're riding on board with him now. He's going out down the pit lane. Where is Guevara at the moment? 11th place, but less than half a second off. In fact, the top 12 down to Ivan Ortola are all covered by just half a second. So it's small margins, but they are still margins that can be bridged out there here at Jerez. I've got to say, the cloud has come right over here. It's gone a little bit overcast. We're gonna get pretty much to the end of this one. It is a little bit windy down there as well, so we're going to get to the end of this one. We knew that anyway. It didn't look like it was going to rain. It wasn't forecast to rain for this one, but rain is due from 3 o'clock onwards. Enjoy the Tissot sprint race.
Yes, it could be quite an eventful 12 laps coming up at the top of the hour as Holgado leaves pit lane. We remind you that 11th of Guevara will become 14th if that's where he qualifies, with the 3-place grid penalty picked up for being slow on line. Second defence for Guevara yesterday, having already picked up a warning for that earlier on in the season. We pick up Munoz then on the number 17, and this is the certainly the homest of home Grand Prix for Dani Munoz, who hails from nearby Sevilla, and it would certainly be quite an event if he can get himself up onto the front row of the grid. He currently sits 6th.
Here we go then. Oh, I love turns 3 and 4 here at Jerez, particularly the Moto2 guys. All the electronics dialing in, or not, is the case in Moto2. But just allows a little bit of sliding out indeed. And that's what Dani Munoz has been doing right there through 3 and 4. Down over the top of the hill. This is out of 5. Dani Munoz doing this alone at the minute. And of course, this is as home a GP as it gets for him as well. No relation to David Munoz, but both are from up the road in Sevilla.
Yeah, he's not got Senna Aegis up ahead of him this time to act as the tow truck or the reference up ahead of him. This time, that strategy has been adopted by Aaron Canet and Manu Gonzalez, and it's a measure of the level that Aegis is at the moment, and potentially also the level that Gonzalez is at, more to the point, the fact that he's put himself up behind his teammate, Senna Aegis.
Yeah, it's, as you say, kind of double meaning here. Aegis has got the pace, and Gonzalez hasn't. Aegis has put himself at the front to try and help Gonzalez, or perhaps to even give himself some clear space to do it all on his own, whereas at the moment Gonzalez needs a reference, and he needs a quick one. We pick up at the moment, this is Colin Vire, who is absolutely flying. He's in the third sector. The third sector timing beam is in between turns 9 and 10. He comes across it now, and he's still up by 900ths of a second. So Colin Vire going for broke. Oh, this is going to impact his lap though. Sector 4. This looks like there could be a crash down at the final corner, and indeed there is. I'm trying to see who that is. Can't quite work out. We're going to see in a minute though. Oh, Colin Vire, yeah, yellow flag, so there's absolutely no getting away with this one. We saw Max Quiles was absolutely level with the timing panel in Moto3, got away with it, but not this time. Oh, and we're just saying how good it was. Dani Munoz has gone down. There's the bike being wheeled off to the left of screen. Dani Munoz is not going to be much higher than 6th in this session.
Vire's lap was a 39.453, in case you want to know what he would have won in bullseye terms. It would have only put him up into 2nd place, though, would not have put him on pole position, and Vietti did roll out of it because of the yellow flags. They have now cleared, though, and potentially cleaned just in time for Intact.
Oh, I tell you what, we're riding on board. I think this is with Manu Gonzalez, and we got almost pillion with Aaron Canet. Coming out to turn 13, little bit of slipstream, not too much, all the way up towards this turn 1. Gonzalez was fast through 6 to 3. Oh, no, he's not, because his teammate's gone and robbed it back off him. So Gonzalez goes into P1. Now that has come from nowhere. What about Guevara? Is he going to go up? Ooh, just a lot of time in the final sectors. Only 7th for Guevara, who is at the head of that 3rd row. But it's an Intact 1-2. Gonzalez and Aegis ahead of David Alonso. This rider's teammate, this is Daniel Gardo, who's squirming and sliding through Crivier.
Lopez is up though at the 3rd sector. Estrich set the fastest 1st sector so far. Yellow flags now out in that 1st sector. And Ethan Guevara, who's already got that 3-place grid penalty, he'll be starting at the very best from 10th on the grid.
Disaster for Ethan Guevara, just what he couldn't have afforded. Coming up to the line, Alonso Lopez has moved into 3rd place. Brilliant spot from you there, Lewis. He's gone up onto the front row and pushed David Alonso away. Ethan Guevara walks away, and that is a very subdued looking number 28 as he traipses through the turn 2 gravel.
Yeah, the airbag has gone off, as you could see. He's right in the heart of the corner, front end tucks. Fortunately, he didn't have the same reaction times as a fellow Pramac rider earlier on. Front tuck as well at the end of it, just to stick the landing there for Ethan Guevara, but it's a tough afternoon for him. Vire across the line, back into pole position at 1:39, 1:01. But check out Alex Screech. We told you that he was fast in testing. Is he about to back up that pre-season testing pace?
Oh, he backs it into the final corner. He's down in the 38s, of course, as you said, Lewis, in testing. He rides it right out to the edge of the curb. Alex Screech on the Clint forward factory machine. Is he going to go to pole? Oh, not quite. Colin Vire's time in the last sector, just doing enough. Giovanni Cazzari nods on there in the middle of the shot. The grey-haired chap in the middle. Alex Screech goes to the middle of that front row. Right, let's pick up Sasaki. That's not going to do anything. He's going to stay 13th. This is Baltus, the number 7, coming to look to try and take back-to-back poles. He's going to improve his time, but he's routed to 8th place. David Alonso across the line, 6th at best for him. And I see an Elfmark VDS machine. That's obviously Aaron Canet, who's gone off at turn 1, and he is going to be 11th at best.
Yeah, no grey, orange crash on it, should I say, at the moment on our time screens. The only rider who's threatening Vire's pole time is Vire himself. Here he comes on the 95. He's definitely giving it plenty through the left-hander of turn 8. Vire, of course, is a Moto3 winner in the past here. Is he about to put himself in pole position to potentially add a Moto2 victory tomorrow?
Tell you what, Munoz has done well here to get back out, but I don't think he's going to set a lap time here. He's not going to go any higher than 10th place. The only other Well, we've got Senna Aegis in touch here and David Alonso, number 80 and number 81. They're in the third sector. We'll pick them up in a moment. Colin Vire is looking at pole position here in Jerez. It's whether or not he's going to be deposed of that pole position. We'll have to wait and see. But at the moment, he takes the checkered flag and he's provisionally P1. Let's wait and see, though, about Alonso or Aegis. It's gone away for Aegis in that third sector. We wait for Alonso.
Yeah, Aegis now 3/10 down, so he'll be starting off the front of the grid. And look where Alonso is. He's up behind Baltus, but another poor third sector, much like Aegis. 3/10 have gone missing for David Alonso. So it looks like the birthday boy will start on the back of the second row. He will out-qualify his teammate Danny Holgado, who's 7th and has taken the checkered flag. But barring something absolutely spectacular in this final sector, it looks like we have a first Moto2 pole position for the young Dutchman at IO, Colin Vire.
Yeah, his previous best grid slot was Catalunya and Portimao last year, and he was third on the front row of the grid. But it looks like, to me, everything is done and dusted. Big congratulations to Colin Vire, the number 95. He took his first ever Junior GP Moto3 victory here 4 years ago. He takes his first ever Moto2 pole position here in 2026. Colin Vire, a maiden pole for him. Alex Escridge on the front row, just half a tenth off. And Manu Gonzalez, if you'd had said to him yesterday, you'll out-qualify Senna Aegis, your teammate, he probably would have shook your hand. He's done it.
He'd have probably said that's pole position then.
Well, also true.
As it is, it's 3rd and 4th for the intact team.
And it's very, very strong indeed from both of them. We know Aegis has got good race pace. I'll tell you what, though, Vire looked good yesterday as well. 5th and 6th, if I can just squeeze in, Alonso Lopez and David Alonso.
First Dutch pole position in Moto2 or in the intermediate class since Wilco Zeelenberg at the 1991 Japanese Grand Prix. Elliot, down to you.
Yeah, got Nicky Ayer with us. Gents, Nicky, what a lap time from Colin. He looks good yesterday, but that's one thing. Converting it into a pole position is another. How proud are you of Colin and his performance today?
Of course, we are very, very proud of his progress in general. You know, it wasn't an easy start for him last year, but I feel, you know, he's one of the hardest worker in the category for sure. Especially now, the beginning of the season, I felt that he maybe took a little bit too much pressure on himself, and especially we could see in the overseas that there was a lot of mistake crashes. But I felt that he could reset now really well during the break. We were talking a lot about the beginning of the season, and I somehow feel that, you know, it's a Colin 2.0 now. So I hope, of course, that tomorrow he can get a good start. You know, talking about win or even talking about podium, you know, it's too early. But obviously we hope that, you know, he can fight at least for that top five tomorrow.
Thanks, Nicky. Good luck for tomorrow.
Diamond performance from Colin Vire to take that first Dutch pole in the class in what, 35 years. Wilco Zeelenberg is here this weekend. He's working for is it Ziggo Sport? I think he's over there with our Dutch broadcast partners. So good job, Colin Vire. Alex Escridge, majestic in second, and Manu Gonzalez is your well, you could say he's your probable favourite for success if you was based
bitten your hand off, Kiko, if you offered him out this morning.
Exactly. He's probably coming into this weekend, you'd say, well, this is a Manu Gonzalez track. He was so good here last year. But after yesterday and after the wet of this morning, P3, big salvage job there for Manu Gas, Lewis.
And the great thing, as is always the case in Moto2, because it's so unpredictable, haven't got the faintest clue who's going to win the Grand Prix from that, because Aegis starts on the second row of the grid, and Baltus, who we also think has got race-winning pace this weekend, he goes from the middle of row 3. From a championship point of view, we've got Guevara, who's going to be trying to rally from 12th on the grid, of course, qualified 9th, but drops 3 places due to the penalty that he picked up yesterday afternoon. We've got the Aspar duo, who ran into each other here last year. They start 6th and 7th, Alonso ahead of Holgado.
Yeah, and Jorge Martinez Aspar is going to finger-wagging tonight to make sure that
the double birthday party's cancelled if you do that again.
Exactly. Last year's misdemeanors are not repeated. This is a brilliant job, and you can see his smiling eyes through the crash helmet there. Alex Escridge on the front row, absolutely fantastic from the number 11, who, I'll tell you what, Lewis, what a performance and what a ride he is. He's showing he's got it, and he's showing the bike can do it as well, which has been very hard for Giovanni Cazzari's outfit so far.
Yeah, we have to give Clint team and the forward squad credit, because I said at the end of last season I'd love to see what Alex Escridge could do on a Calyx. He ain't bad on a forward either.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell you what, that the Calyx might be the bike to be on, but Alex Escridge is just showing that, you know, he can ride probably a wheelbarrow at this point. I mean, Jorge Navarro is penultimate. It's quite funny. second on the entire grid, Alex Escudero. Second last, and actually will line up last, Jorge Navarro, as Alberto Fernandez has obviously got to start from pit lane. So
and Navarro's a former pole sitter around here as well in Moto2, so he is no slouch on any kind of Moto2 machine.
Jorge Navarro knows his way around here. He's been here in World Super Sport, he's been here in Moto3, Moto2, he's got pace as well. So Jorge Navarro looking a little bit lost, and that's fine. He's going to have to work it out himself, but the bike is well capable of doing it. Maybe Alex Escudero, we've all been sleeping on him for a little while, and well, any other team's loss has been forwards gain thus far.
Well, we saw the pace from him in pre-season testing and thought, I wonder what the Clint team are playing at in pre-season testing. Are they going for some early headlines to attract some sponsors? Not a bit of it. That pace was genuine. Very genuine indeed. A great front row, I've got to say. Via, Escudero and Gonzalez, Agius, Lopez and Alonso. Well, that's getting elbows out on the second row, isn't it? Then we've got Olgado, Baltas. It won't be Guevara, it'll be Danny Munoz who crashed, but will line up 9th. And Aaron Canet, well, keeps up his form of always being on the front 4 rows around here. He'll start from the head of the 4th row, even if he qualified in the middle of it. Then it is Ayumi Sasaki and Celestino Vietti. The number 13 qualified 13th, but he'll start 12th. Senna Agius in the box there. He'll maybe think that was one that got away from him, but 4th is by no means a disaster. I can see that Colin Vire is ready. Absolutely fantastic. Colin Vire, you are a Moto2 pole sitter for the first time, and as a reward, you get to talk to Elliot York. Enjoy.
Colin, a phenomenal debut front row and pole position, in Moto2, the first since 1991. You must be super proud and feeling really good ahead of tomorrow as well. Talk us through that qualifying.
Yeah, it was amazing, to be honest. First lap was a bit rough because it was a yellow flag. Then the second lap I didn't feel amazing, but got myself already on the front row, so I was happy with the lap. But I knew there was still more because because of the yellow flag. So I went out straight away, just tried on my own. First lap got cancelled again because of the yellow flag in last corner. So I slowed down a little bit in last corner to just not take the penalty of improving my last sector. And then I tried again another lap, and apparently it's enough for a pole position. I feel very confident for tomorrow. Pace is actually really good this time. Let's see. I feel amazing. Thanks to everyone at home. Thanks to my team for helping me always. And let's bring on tomorrow.
Good luck for tomorrow, Colin.
Thank you.
Top job, Colin Vire. Thank you very much, Elliot York, down there. Moto2 qualifying absolutely lived up to expectation, didn't it, Lewis? And it's always going to give us a surprise.
Yeah, it certainly does, and as mentioned, it's so difficult to pick a winner with the state of the grid for tomorrow. Of course, so difficult to overtake in this Moto2 field, but so competitive. A 10th and a half covered the top 5 in that qualifying session. And it's only going to get closer tomorrow. Make sure you do tune in, folks. Moto2, Moto3, MotoGP coming up in just a short while. I tell you what, I'm going to get out of here. That's it for myself, Kiko Giles. Lewis, take it away with the results. Matt Burt is moving in here. The MotoGP Tissot Sprint's going to be unmissable, isn't it? Colin Vire, a first Moto2 pole position then, and the first Dutch pole sitter in this class for 35 years. Alex Escudero, second, career best for him on the forward. Gonzalez and Agius, 3rd and 4th for intact. Lopez 5th ahead of Alonso and Holgado. Baltas only 8th, Guevara 9th, but drops 3 places on the grid for tomorrow, which will promote Munoz, Canet and Sasaki. Celestino Vietti next to the Boscoscuros in 13th place. Arbolino next up ahead of Ortola, Huertas, Adji and Garcia, who will have a double long lap to serve tomorrow from 18th place. Unchu next up ahead of Roberts, who was none too pleased with 20th in Q1. Ramirez, Van der Gorbach and Salach. Forasato 24th ahead of Rueda. Lunetta, who had mechanical problems in Q1. Navarro and Ferrandez, who will move from P28 on the grid into the pit lane at the start tomorrow. So the 95 takes his first Moto2 pole. It's pole from Colin Vire in Moto2 at Jerez. A fascinating Tissot sprint coming up though in MotoGP. Will it stay dry? Stay with us for the answer. The sprint's up next.
world-renowned for flamenco, a question and Sherry. MotoGP is back in Jerez for one of these season's biggest spectacles at a track named after Spanish racing hero Angel Nieto. Established as a jewel in MotoGP's crown since 1987, Jerez has produced some classic last corner battles played out in front of some of the most fanatical fans in the world. Sprint action is next live. It's time for MotoGP. Well, the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto first opened its doors for business back in 1986, 40 years ago. What an anniversary weekend the local fans are having here at one of the most spectacular tracks on the Grand Prix calendar. 4.423 kilometres in length, 13 corners, 8 of them right, just 5 of them left, including that rather tight and busy first sector as you go through the tight right-hander of turn 3. Hard on the brakes in the Pedrosa corner, turn 6, and then into the stadium section. Key turn 10, and overtaking opportunity to plane, particularly on the brakes, into that turn 13. There are your overtaking hotspots. Turn 1, turns 9 and 10. This was the classic battle, wasn't it, last year between Marc Marquez and Pecco Bagnaia. Into turn 9, the Angel Nieto turn. Well, it seems like an awful long time ago, doesn't it, since we were last Grand Prix racing at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Pedro Acosta from the front row of the grid, getting a lightning launch to lead the field over in Austin. Marco Bezzecchi at this stage were trying to ensure he was going to be leading for 121 successive laps, a job he would eventually do after this big early scare as they powered down the start-finish straight on lap 1. Marco Bezzecchi winning out on Acosta on that occasion. And it was Bezzecchi who was then able to cruise to what turns out to be his 5th successive MotoGP success. Just the 8th rider in Premier Class history to win 5 on the spin. The outcome of that Austin Grand Prix sees Marco Bezzecchi arrive in Europe for our first European Grand Prix of 2026 with a narrow 4-point lead in the championship over his factory Aprilia teammate Jorge Martin. What a start to 2026 it's been for Martin and for the Nawali factory. Although Ducati, as we knew they would do, and Marc Marquez in particular, have responded to Aprilia's early onslaughts. They have retaliated, and some so far here this weekend at the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto. You will not find a more popular pole starter in Grand Prix racing than Marc Marquez, starting from pole in front of his home crowd here at the spiritual home of Spanish motorcycle racing in Jerez. In wet conditions, in mixed conditions this morning, it was a 1:48.087, which fired Marc Marquez to his 3rd MotoGP pole position here in Jerez. On pole in 2014, a couple of years ago in 2024, his first ever Ducati pole on that occasion, and just about edging out Joan Zarco, a wet weather specialist himself, the Frenchman, at the end of that dramatic Q2 session this morning. Packed grandstands. Have to say, this does not feel like a sprint Saturday here in Jerez. This feels almost like a Grand Prix Sunday because it is jam-packed at the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto. 12-lap TSO sprint coming your way then in just over 25 minutes time. Marc Marquez, Joan Zarco and Fabio de Gianantonio, currently top Ducati rider in the World Championship, is your front row of the grid. World Champions leader Marco Bezzecchi heads row 2 in 4th place. Talking you through all of this afternoon's action, Matt Burton Lewis will be in the commentary box, Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Super special scenes, a super special atmosphere, a carnival, festival, fiesta feel, as always, to this Spanish Grand Prix. And let's hope those fans are going to get treated to more spectacular MotoGP action in our 12-lap sprint coming up shortly.
Yeah, there are a few atmospheres like the Spanish Grand Prix at Jerez, and there are a few venues where we see the circuit so full of spectators on Saturday afternoon. Just gives you the idea of what kind of atmosphere we're in for tomorrow. Grandstands will be packed at the top of the hour for the TSO sprint. We've had all sorts of conditions already today. We've had the raincoats and the umbrellas up this morning. We've had the sun cream applied and the shirts off already over the course of Moto3 and Moto2 qualifying this afternoon. We're not quite sure which of those 2 conditions we're ultimately going to get for the sprint because it could go either way.
yet a little bit of blue skies emerging through what has been seemingly endless cloud cover since we first arrived here in southwest Spain. Marc Marquez then on the front row of the grid, heading the front row of the grid. Career pole position 75 now in MotoGP for the 33-year-old Spaniard. His first pole position though in 8 Grand Prix since he started at the front of the pack at the Balaton Park circuit in Hungary. And he has got some big contenders behind him. But Gian Antonio looks in great form, probably in the form of his MotoGP career right now. There are plenty of teams and bosses seeking the signature of Digia in 2027. He's put the VR46 Ducati on the front row of the grid for the 3rd Grand Prix in a row.
It would appear from what went on in qualifying earlier on today, we'll hopefully be able to put a bit more meat on the bones as we go through the build-up to this sprint. There's a bit of needle between Marc Marquez and Fabio Di Gianantonio. We've already seen some incidents and battles between the two of them, the battle for the sprint victory and for the final podium place in the Grand Prix in Goiânia. And of course Marc crashed and took out Digia in the sprint last time out in Austin, Texas. So there is certainly a bit of competitive rivalry between Ducati's world champion and their current leading rider in the championship.
Hard to believe I'm saying this, but we're in round 4 in 2026, but the only podiums that Marc Marquez has scored so far this year have come on sprint Saturdays. Second he was over the line in Buriram, and of course he was the sprint winner in Goiânia, still seeking his first Grand Prix top 3 of the campaign so far. Lacking top 3s on Sundays has certainly not been an issue for the factory Aprilia team, and this rider on screens right now, Marco Bezzecchi, who has led the last 121 Grand Prix laps, just the 8th different rider, as mentioned, to win 5 Grand Prix in a row. Bez now part of a very elite and illustrious club which features some of the best to ever do it: Agostini, Duke, Harewood, Surtees, Doohan, Marquez and Rossi. Tomorrow, could he be just the 7th rider in history to win 6 in a row? Certainly got a great chance heading the 2nd row of the grid in 4th place. It is the first time since Sepang that Bezzecchi has not qualified on the front row of the grid, although he did of course start 4th for the Grand Prix in Austin recently after a penalty in practice.
So here is Fabio Di Gianantonio. It's not a 3rd consecutive pole, but it is a 3rd consecutive front row start. And I guess we're going to find out, perhaps not so much in the sprint today, but we'll certainly find out tomorrow just how much of Marc Marquez's pole position was whether assisted or whether he genuinely does have the pace to challenge for victory once again. Because Marc Marquez wasn't all that confident about his prospects yesterday. Not as confident as Fabio Di Gianantonio was from the outside of that front row. Between them, we will see Johann Zarco. We are looking now down on the LCR box right now. Johann Zarco, kind of conditions in qualifying this morning that feel tailor-made for Johann Zarco, and he did not disappoint.
He was 3rd fastest in the wet in FP2 this morning, qualified 2nd on the grid, having come out of Q1 with the fastest time. He's a wily old campaigner, isn't he? 35 years of age now, Zarco, using every ounce of experience this morning to just judge where the grip was on offer around this 4.4-kilometre Jerez circuit. At one stage, he really fancied having a pop at Marc Marquez's 148.087. He was on course potentially for his first pole position in 4 years before he lost the front. Big front-end slide in the final corner. But it is his first front row start in 15 Grand Prix since the Sachsenring in Germany last summer. His best ever qualifying performance in MotoGP here in Jerez.
And is he going to act as a bit of a cork in the bottle to allow Marc Marquez to escape this afternoon and tomorrow? That has to be a question going into the sprint. Surely that will be the target of Di Gianantonio, Bezzecchi, Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta, who start right behind Johann Zarco. Surely if Marc Marquez gets the whole shot, that quartet behind Zarco know that they have to pass that Honda as soon as possible if they are to keep up with Marc Marquez this afternoon.
Alex Marquez on practice Friday in full dry conditions, if not sunny conditions, under the heavy cloud yesterday. It was Alex who completely dominated proceedings, leading the way on Friday. Certainly didn't help himself this morning in a push for the front right of the grid or better. A crash in Q2 in those tricky conditions at turn 9. At one stage, Alex was plummeting down the order. He did recover, and a late 149.146, actually on his very last lap of the session, did get Alex up to 5th on the grid. A nice bit of late damage limitation as far as that 2025 Spanish Grand Prix winner is concerned. We've just seen Jorge Martin venturing out on circuit, or getting ready to head out on circuit. Martin's going to start today's sprint heading row 3. The Martinator qualifying in 7th place on his RSGP. And if you're joining us for the first time this weekend, after he balked Alex Marquez in practice yesterday afternoon, going through turns 3 and 4, for tomorrow's feature 25-lap full Grand Prix, Jorge Martin has been hit with a 3-place grid penalty. So tomorrow he will start from the head of row 4 in 10th place. And another Spaniard, as we feared, who's been in hot water, Lewis, having ignored the black flag with the orange disc after a crash at turn 3 this morning. Joan Mir, we expected him to be in a bit of hot water, and that has proven to be the case ahead of the Grand Prix tomorrow.
Yeah, scorchingly hot water, sadly, for Joan Mir, although I don't think he can really blame anyone but himself. A double long lap penalty that he'll have to serve in tomorrow's Spanish Grand Prix, and he's already up against it from 14th place on the grid. It is a total no-no to continue riding around the racetrack when the black and orange flag or light panel is displayed, because it tells you that you need to get off the racetrack for the safety of other competitors. This is perhaps the highlight of the day, though. Top pro Razbat might have only qualified in 19th place on the grid, but if style points were enough to get you up the grid, then Top Rack would be on pole position.
This is insane. This is truly unbelievable, isn't it? 67 degrees of lean angle. That is how you defy the laws of gravity, the laws of physics. Somehow, I'm not even quite sure right now Toprak Razgatlioglu will believe how he pulled that one up on his left elbow and his left knee, but he did. It was a spectacular save. He looked strong in FP2 this morning, didn't he? In the full wet conditions, did Toprak. Of course, twice crowned World Superbike champion right here in Jerez. He was 6th quickest this morning. Unfortunately, unable to convert that kind of pace in drying conditions when he was in Q1. The Turk will file away from 19th on the grid. Worst position, unfortunately, for his Prima Pramac Yamaha colleague Jack Miller, who himself had a fall in Q1 at turn 13. Another Yamaha rider, Miller, who is really suffering right now. Jack's going to go from 22nd place on the grid, his lowest qualifying in 11 years since the Japanese Grand Prix in 2015. Only the 9th time in what's going to be his 202nd MotoGP start that Miller finds himself starting outside of the top 20.
Yeah, a couple of riders who really did pay a heavy price for crashes at the wrong moment of qualifying one. Diogo Moreira the other. The Honda LCR rider will start behind Miller at the very back of the grid in 23rd place. So a weekend that promised a lot for Honda, certainly at parts of practice yesterday when they looked like they might get as many as 3 bikes through to qualifying 2 as it is. The first Honda on the grid for this afternoon sprint is Joan Mir in 14th place.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking about the meaning of the sort of the meatball flag as it's known. Basically, this is what the penalty explanation was released by the FIM stewards. The flag informs the rider that the motorcycle has mechanical problems likely to endanger themselves or others, and that he must immediately leave the track, which is precisely what Mr. Joan Mir did not do. The reason why he has the double long lap coming his way tomorrow. So for just the 3rd time in his MotoGP career, Marc Marquez finds himself on pole position here in Jerez. Well, we've got 2 LCR Hondas at opposite ends of the grid, haven't we? With Joan Zarco on the front row, unfortunately Diogo Moreira on the back row, and experience gaining exercise once again coming up for the Brazilian rookie. Let's get his thoughts from Jack.
Yeah, less than ideal morning for Diogo, but the only way forwards now. What's the plan for the sprint coming up, and how different did track conditions feel compared to yesterday on the outlap then?
Yeah, I mean, the strategy for today will be, you know, push already the first lap to, you know, to the last one. And I mean, I will try, because at the end we don't lose nothing, so I'm gonna try to overtake the people, and let's see.
Good luck, have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, all he can do is get his head down and try and pick off a few riders ahead of him, Diogo Moreira. I wonder if he can get himself up into P13. He needs to recover 10 places because he has been 13th in 4 of our opening 6 events so far this season. 13th on debut in both the sprint and the Grand Prix in Thailand, and that's been followed up by 13th places in our most 2 recent Grand Prix in front of his home crowd in Goiânia, and of course last time out in Austin. As mentioned, the LCR Honda riders at complete opposite ends of the grid. Joan Zarco's 31st front row start in the MotoGP World Championship. Never had a sprint podium, has the Frenchman.
Yeah, best of 4th so far in the sprint era for Joan Zarco. 4th is where we find the World Championship leader on the grid. Sundays haven't been the problem, as I'm sure you're aware. He's led every lap on a Sunday so far this season, but it's fair to say he has dropped a few points in the sprints so far this season. 12 of them in the first sprint in Buriram, and certainly a minimum 7 in Austin last time out. Here's your grid: Marc Marquez, Johann Zarco and Fabio Di Giannantonio on the front row of the grid. World Championship leader Marco Bezzecchi heads row 2. He's got Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta behind him. On the third row of the grid, you can see Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini and Raul Fernandez. Igor does not start from where he appeared on that graphic. He's actually on the 5th row of the grid. Some water in the works, so we'll get the grid up back for you in just a moment. While we get to the bottom of that problem, let's head down to the grid and find out whether Marco Bezzecchi can move forward from 4th. Paolo Bonora speaking to Jack.
Yeah, 2nd row of the grid for Marco, 3rd row of the grid for Jorge, under skies that are getting ever greyer by the minute, Paolo. I think we're in for an interesting sprint. What do we have in store here?
Yeah, grey clouds for sure. So difficult to understand what the weather forecast will be. By the way, we hope that it remains dry for all the sprint. We are confident about the race pace, despite of the not a very good lap time qualification during this morning. But by the way, we did a step forward compared the yesterday setup and feeling about our rider, so quite confident about it.
We know in terms of the championship, Marco has been brilliant on Sunday, but work needs to be done in Saturday's sprint. So is he mentally thinking about today differently to the opening 3?
I think so because compared the first 3 races where he had a better race pace compare probably his competitor, today he has to fight a little bit more, so probably he will be inside of the group in the first part of the race, so it will be quite different from the previous races.
Thanks, Paolo. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to a pretty boss, Paolo Bonora. You just there on screens the grid graphic running through the order. I guess some of you will have noticed that our 2025 pole starter Fabio Quartararo way down the order in 17th place on the grid. His lowest qualifying in 29 Grand Prix since Phillip Island at the back end of 2024 for the 27-year-old Frenchman, whose patience looks to have finally snapped with what is the underperforming and rather uncompetitive new V4 powered Yzerdar M1. No problems there inside the VR46 garage for Fabio Di Giannantonio, who looks the epitome of cool, calm and relaxed, and why would he not be going away from the front row of the grid for the 3rd race in a row. Alex Marquez then has a little bit more work to do than I'm sure he would have liked in this sprint, having qualified on the middle of the 2nd row in 5th, particularly given how strong he was in the dry yesterday, although that performance yesterday afternoon does bode well if we do get a dry sprint. What are the thoughts of the boss, Michele Massini, with Jack?
Yeah, he is indeed. Super strong Friday for Alex, the fastest man out there. Mark labelled him the favourite. He gets the dry conditions he wants, Michele. So what is his plan for the upcoming sprint?
So for sure we know that we have the speed on the dry, so we try at least to stay in the top 3 today, and we know also that we can manage well the used tyre on the dry, so I think that will be crucial, of course, like always, the first lap.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Grazzini boss Michele Massini. Yeah, there is no doubting Alex Marquez's pace in the dry yesterday was pretty frightening. If you're lining up on the grid next to Alex, the Fermin Aldeguer fans are out in full voice. The yellow-clad Aldeguer fan supporting the number 54. Couple of tumbles, though, here today in the wet condition this morning for the 21-year-old. He was down at turn 13 in FP2, and then his hopes of qualifying higher than 12th in Q2 were pretty much ended when he was on the floor once again at turn 8.
12th place then he starts for the sprint, and I guess points will be the target for Fermin Aldeguer from there. Toprak, who's watching from the relative tranquility of his Pramac box, as covered earlier on after the incredible acrobatics from Toprak earlier on. A little bit of a return to reality in the qualifying session. He starts from 19th place on the grid, 1 place behind Frankie Morbidelli for VR46 in P18. The other VR46 Ducati's on the front row, Fabio Di Giannantonio. Pablo Nieto's with Jack.
Yeah, well, Saturday so far in 2026 have been about Fabio Di Giannantonio versus Marc Marquez. We were treated to a battle in Brazil. We were treated to a coming together in Austin. It looks as though the two of them are going to clash again here, Pablo.
I wish, because I love it. I love it when you have this kind of fights. and we are making this kind of fight for the podium, so this is very, very important. We know that it's going to be very hard. Mark here are super fast. Also, Zarco makes an amazing qualifying. It's going to be hard, but we will see what happens.
You, like everybody else, is looking upwards at the sky from your weather radar. Are we going to get any rain?
Could be, but we are really, really focused on dry condition. If it starts raining, we are ready. So at the moment, I say to the rider, don't worry. We have to be focused for dry condition, then we will see what happens.
Thanks, Pablo. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to VR46 boss Pablo Nieto. Didier was really heaping praise on the strategy of his crew this morning when he got on that front row grid. They left him out on his second soft tyre pretty late on, and he said they called it absolutely bang on the money. Nice shot inside the Pramac Yamaha garage there. We know that a very close ally, manager and mentor to Toprak Razgatlioglu, his former World Supersport king, of course, Kenan Sofuoglu. Joining the garage there with some support is Kenan's 7-year-old son, Zane Sofuoglu, who I'm sure is very familiar to many of you who follow the young fella on social media. 5.1 million followers on Instagram, and he's already a bit of a stunt king to rival Toprak. He's a brave young fella, I think it's fair to say. Brave in the conditions, in the tricky conditions this morning in the wet, was Johan Zarco to put himself on the front row of the grid for the first time in almost 12 months. Let's get the thoughts of the boss, LCR Honda's Lucio, checking on with Jack.
Yes, Lucio just gets a word of good luck from MotoGP Hall of Famer Giacomo Agostini. Johan did an unbelievable job this morning, Lucio, to stick it on the front row of the grid. I spoke to him in a lunchtime break and he said, although there's no rain, I was pretty strong on rhythm yesterday. He feels that despite these dry conditions, he's still well in the fight. Do you agree?
I mean, definitely for tomorrow with the medium tire and with the medium rear tire, I think we showed that we have not bad pace. However, with the soft slick, I think yesterday the other were a little bit stronger than us. So what we explained to him that for us is very important, you know, to finish the race and to stay possibly in the top 8, but you know, not necessarily look for more. And then tomorrow maybe we have a slightly better chance.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Lucio. Good luck.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Lucio checking out. So, yeah, maybe hopes of Zarco hanging in for the podium battle slightly more favourable tomorrow over the longer distance. 25 laps tomorrow will be the full race distance. I don't know if it's me here in the commentary box just perched above the main grandstand opposite pit lane, but those sort of nice little pockets of blue sky seem to be getting less and less, and there's some rather ominous and threatening looking grey clouds which all of a sudden are starting to sort of close in on the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto.
Yeah, when Jack asked Pablo Nieto, he didn't sound awfully confident, did he, that it's going to stay dry. It's worth reminding you that flag-to-flag rules do still apply in the sprint, even over the shorter 12-lap distance. So, as always, the marshals will put the white flag with the red cross, then the white flag to indicate that riders can change bikes, because this will obviously be declared a dry sprint. Of course, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but flag-to-flag rules do still apply.
Can you believe it? Fabio Quartararo strolling down pit lane on pole position. Here he was 12 months ago. He was on the podium second in the Grand Prix to Alex Marquez 12 months ago. Boy, what would he give for that? Anything close to those kind of results right now as he tries to make any kind of headway on the currently being developed V4 Yamaha, Goiânia and Kota. First time in his MotoGP career that Fabio Quartararo has finished 2 races in a row outside of the points. Tough times indeed for the recently turned 27-year-old Frenchman. He'll be hoping for some kind of boost, some kind of confidence lift before he heads home to the French Grand Prix in Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time.
Brad Binder looking pensive as he sits on the 5th row of the grid, 13th for him. He's also been on the floor so far today, crashed right at the end of free practice too, over at the Jorge Martinez Aspar corner. Yeah, 13th might not sound particularly special for Brad Binder, but it is his best qualifying since the season opener in Buriram, and of course we know he has pedigree around here. The first rider to win a sprint here at Jerez.
Yeah, that sprint in 2023 remains the closest sprint podium we have ever witnessed. What is this? Sprint number 65, I believe. That epic fight on that occasion back in 2023 involving Binder, Bagnaia and Martin. Starting on the 4th row of the grid is Pecco Bagnaia. He will get pushed up 1 row tomorrow for the main Grand Prix, courtesy of Jorge Martin's incoming penalty. but his equal worst qualifying performance in MotoGP here in Jerez. He was 10th on the grid 7 years ago in his debut year back in 2019. He does bring a quite brilliant record, though, to this Spanish Grand Prix. Certainly on Sundays, does the 29-year-old Italian. No lower than third in the last 5. A 3-times winner here, 2022, 2023, 2024. A couple of those were in absolute classics as well.
Spots of rain, we understand, from Jack Appleyard, who is leaving the grid as we speak. Very, very light, but just something to occupy the minds and add to what is already a tense situation on that grid. I think if you asked H31 of the 23 riders on that grid, they would want a dry sprint. Are they going to get their wish?
Nothing worse than this situation, is that just as it's about to go lights out, just at the height of tension, when the butterflies, you're really trying to keep them under control, churning inside your stomach, to see rain spots on the screen, rain spots on your visor. Just about the worst possible scenario to face for these MotoGP riders. Fabio De Gianantonio then. He has already had some epic tussles with Marc Marquez in sprint so far this year. Ayagura, fair to say, seemed like he was lacking a bit of belief, a bit of trust in that Aprilia RSGP in the wet conditions this morning. He was at the wrong end of Q2, starting in 11th place for the Trackhouse squad. He was 3 seconds behind the pole time of Marc Marquez, and only got better because he did put a 151.110 in on his 7th lap of the session. His last lap, at one stage, he was almost 5 seconds back of the best speed.
So at the moment, only very light spots of rain. Nothing at this stage that would be heavy enough to even consider them delaying the start. It would have to absolutely chuck it down at this stage for them to consider that. The sprint, as mentioned, has already been declared dry. So it will be a case at the moment of the riders trusting their own instincts, trusting the grip levels underneath them, and almost trying to block out whatever spots of rain land on their visor. And I guess the warm-up lap will be quite crucial just to understand if the grip levels have changed at all since they left the pit lane for the sighting lap around about 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, the old eyes weren't deceiving me. It definitely has gone a lot darker. Some of the thick, heavy, dark clouds that have been off into the distance for a period of time now really are just pretty much completely plonked on top of this Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto. So with, what, 2.5 minutes until it's lights out, what are the elements going to throw at the world's best riders here at one of the world's best circuits? Third successive front row in 2026 for Fabio De Gianantonio. His 8th front row in the MotoGP World Championship. A first front row since Germany last year for LCR Honda rider Johann Zarco. A first front row since the Hungarian Grand Prix at Balaton Park last August for Marc Marquez. His 3rd pole position here in Jerez. The crowd will erupt if he's able to take his 17th sprint win here in southern Spain. Marc on pole in Jerez. MotoGP's spring break is well and truly over. The world's best riders are about to spring back into action. The fight for glory in this year's World Championship in 2026 is about to pick up some serious momentum. 8 Grand Prix coming up before our summer break in mid-July. Record crowd expected once again at Le Mans in a couple of weeks' time. It feels like we're going to get a record crowd here this weekend in Jerez, because this, without any question, surely is going to be one of our biggest ever Sprint Saturday crowds since the new format was introduced back in 2023. And if the Spanish fans weren't happy enough to see the world's best riders back in action, well, Marc Marquez putting the factory Ducati on pole position in his home Grand Prix has just whetted the appetite even more ahead of this 12-lap Tissot sprint. That's where we sit in terms of the championship. We've ticked off Thailand, we've ticked off Goiânia in Brazil and Austin in Texas. Marco Bezzecchi, 81 points collected from the first 3 Grand Prix. 75 of those 81 have come on Sundays, as he's remained undefeated so far this season. As you can see on the graphic, it's tight at the top, just as we like it. Jorge Martin, factory Aprilia stablemate to Bez, second in the standings. He took a record 17th sprint victory then 3 weeks ago in Austin, Texas, did the Martinator. He'll be hard pushed to repeat that, although maybe there is a bit of an omen already in the offing, because Jorge Martin, 7th to 1st in the Austin sprint. Guess where he starts the sprint here today in Jerez? 7th place on the grid. Can he produce more heroics? He'll be certainly hoping to win again and then maybe land at the post-sprint wheeling celebration, unlike he did a couple of weeks ago in Austin. Marc Marquez then on the front row of the grid, heading the front row of the grid. Johann Zarco, how long can he hang in there? Not convinced about his performance. Lucio checking out LCR Honda boss in terms of his pace on the soft rear tyre. We might see more from Zarco in the main Grand Prix tomorrow. Fabio Di Giannantonio, it's today the day that he finds his first ever sprint success, his first sprint victory. He's been close. 8 sprint podiums so far for the 27-year-old Italian. Keep a close eye on Bezzecchi then, world championship leader. He's heading the second row in 4th place. A straight shootout in terms of the Michelin tyres. Every single rider, 23 of them, with 2 wildcards here this weekend. Lorenzo Savadori and Augusto Fernandez. Tech 3 slightly depleted with no Maverick Vinales, sadly, for his home Grand Prix. But all riders coming to the grid, medium front, soft rear tyre. So no deviation in terms of tyre choice. So under grey clouds, is Marc Marquez going to light up the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto? Once again, it's lights out and we're racing in the sprint here in southern Spain. It's a brilliant start by Marc Marquez on the number 93 bike. He's going to get the job on the field into the first corner. Alex Marquez from 5th on the grid has had a really good start there. He's up into 3rd place. Zarco started in 2nd. He's still in P2.
Tell you what, a shocker though. The World Championship leader Marco Bezzecchi was snaking left and right and plummeted backwards. He's well outside the top 10 already.
Yeah, work to do there now for Bezzecchi. Perfect start. This is just how Marc Marquez would have envisaged the start of this sprint. He's got clear tarmac ahead of him. Fabio Quartararo is out on the paintwork on the exit of turn 4.
Marco Bezzecchi is 17th at the end of the first sector of this sprint. Points would be an achievement from where he is.
Agura's gone wide. 2-star Aprilias are suffering in the early part of this sprint because Agura was really wide on the outside of the Tito Pons corner, turn 5. The Giannantonio looking to fight back on Jorge Martin. Martin's gone the right way on the factory Aprilia. He's gained 3 places, 7th to 4th on the dynamic start from the 89.
I like Bastianini being elbowed wide at the turn 6 hairpin. I think it was Binder on the other KTM who went past him. Pedro Acosta is still in the 6th place he started from. Di Giannantonio immediately up ahead of him.
Yeah, and Alex knows he's got to get on with this. He's got to find a way through quickly on Johann Zarco, because Marquez will be capitalising on this. They're already trying to gang up behind Zarco, so he's the mega pass. Alex surely is going to try and attack Zarco on the 5 LCR Honda going into the final corner. He has to, because Marc already nearly 0.6 of a second clear.
And this is exactly the kind of scenario that the chasing pack feared. Zarco acting as a bit of a bodyguard for Marc Marquez. Alex, though, not close enough. Who was close enough is Jorge Martin. He actually passes Alex Marquez and takes his 3rd place.
Jorge Martin is just so good on sprint Saturdays, whether it be on a Ducati or an Aprilia. Can he fend off a retaliatory move from Alex on the brakes in the turn 1? That was all because Martin compromised his exit speed a little bit, but he's gone wide. Has he got a problem? It looks like the Aprilia has given up the ghost. That's a nightmare situation for poor Jorge Martin. He just got himself up into 3rd place on that opening lap. As it got going again, looks like it is. Well, clearly it's still running, but Jorge Martin drops to the back of the field.
So the top 2 in the World Championship having nightmare first lap, so a lap and a quarter to this sprint, because Bezzecchi's back in 14th place. This is the move then from Alex Marquez. Was always going to come straight back up the inside of Jorge Martin, but Martin's already recognised he's got an issue.
Look at the glow. Look at the bright red glow on the front brake disc. Look at it.
It's all fired almost.
That's just unbelievable. I mean, you normally only see that kind of shot, don't you, in Qatar under the lights. He's like having a good look down there. I mean, did he just have a brake fade going into that first corner? Was that what caused the issue? I mean, it was so blatantly obvious there. The front disc was glowing. I mean, what are these discs run around 900, 1,000 degrees temperature? Maybe not that hot after just one lap, but clearly it just looked like that. Martin didn't have any brake.
Alex Marquez takes that second place finally from Johann Zarco. How much damage has been done? A full second is the advantage for Marc Marquez. Halfway around the second lap, his younger brother is now his nearest challenger.
As mentioned, you only ever really see that, don't you, under the night lights of the Lusail International Circuit in Qatar. A nightmare then for poor old Jorge Martin. He's at the back of the field. At the front, though, Marc Marquez in the comfort zone here. Got a nice buffer. Well, he's just taken his lead to over a second for the first time in the sprint, clear of brother Alex. And he's trying to get on with business here, Alex, trying to catch back. 1:37.156 is the fastest lap of the sprint so far from Alex. Zarco still there in third place. Jorge Martin lost 5 seconds with that mistake, or that sort of issue he had on the first corner last lap.
Yeah, the rain panel was flashing there on the way to turn one. You just saw it on the left-hand side of the screen as well as they come through turn 3. So spots of rain now falling all around the circuit. Jorge Martin retires from the sprint. So at least Marco Bezzecchi will retain the World Championship lead. But at the moment, he's scoring nothing either. He's back in 16th place.
Highs and lows of a professional motorcycle racer. In our last sprint, Jorge Martin came charging through from 7th to take the gold medal. Wasn't even in the contest for a full 2 laps before. Looks like some kind of an issue has curtailed his hopes of back-to-back sprint successes. The Gian Antonio at the moment just cannot find a way through. Can he, from the very resolute Frenchman Johann Zarco? White flag then is being waved. Riders are now allowed to swap bikes, and now once again Didier, he's just going to be patient here. He's got to bide his time. He's getting a little bit frustrated by the fact that he cannot find a way through cleanly on Zarco. He can now into the Angel Nieto corner, into turn 9. Oh no, now Zarco strikes straight back on the inside into Pellic. Here we go, turn 10. This is playing into the hands of the Marquez boys.
Oh, that's a brave move up the inside of the Alex Cribier corner. Once again, he just can't turn it tight enough, and Johann Zarco happily takes third place back again.
Fabio Di Gianantonio has delivered some fireworks in battles so far this year as Ralph Fernandez goes on the inside of Pedro Acosta into turn 13. That was a lovely move by the track out of Aprilia rider. Fabio Di Gianantonio has had some epic battles in sprint so far this year with Marc Marquez on a couple of occasions. This time around, it's Johann Zarco who's proving to be a right pest.
Marc Marquez has got a major problem here in the form of his younger brother Alex. He took another 3.5 tenths out of him on that last lap, cut the gap down to 4 tenths of a second. Surely it's a matter of time before Marc has got his brother right behind him.
Well, Alex threatened a runaway success. Jack just saying the rain is now starting to intensify. We've still got a little bit more than 8.5 laps remaining here. As the Gian Antonio has another dig at Zarco. This time around into turn 5, he's going to ram the door shut on the Frenchman on the inside of the Ponds corner. You can see there the rain flag on the outside on the LED panel. So the Gian Antonio has finally, it's taken him 3.5 laps to get through on the on Zarco. But what can he now do about the Marquez brothers? This is all the pressure, isn't it, that's still building from Zarco. Can he shake off the Frenchman finally?
Yeah, the Marquez horses have bolted, though, unfortunately, for Fabio Di Gianantonio up at the front of the race. They are over 2 seconds clear of Fabio Di Gianantonio. This is the battle for sprint victory, and it's the kind of battle that the fans here would have dreamed of. Where their allegiances lie, though, between Marc and Alex, as now Ralph Fernandez piles on the punishment for Zarco, which also opens the door for Pedro Acosta.
Yeah, Zarco's taking a couple of uppercuts here at the moment, isn't he? Spaniards attacking him left, right and centre. Acosta, as Fernandez picks up Zarco going into turn 9. Pedro Acosta said, well, thank you very much, I'll also ease my way through. Could get worse this for Zarco as well, as he goes back on the inside of Acosta's KTM into the final corner. That's brilliant. Johann Zarco, 35 years of age, still full attack, full commitment, scrapping for every single point in this sprint. At the front, the gap between Marc and Alex, 0.3 of a second. You can see rain spots on Pedro Acosta's onboard camera there on the front of the factory KTM. He got it loose, he got it lively on the power coming out the first corner. He is just about able to drop across the nose of Zarco into turn 2.
Luca Cecchinello said to Jack on the grid, then take a top 8. That's certainly not the attitude of Johann Zarco right now. He's fighting for every position he can get his hands on. Update on the World Championship leader Marco Bezzecchi. Believe it or not, he's just past Pecco Bagnaia, who's also having a shocker. They're battling for 15th.
Yeah, untouchable on Sundays. Rather underwhelming on Saturday so far this year, Marco Bezzecchi. His only sprint finish so far this year was a 4th place in Goiânia. Now then, here comes Zarco once again attacking Acosta on the brakes into turn 6. This is where Acosta was weak on the brakes into that Pedrosa corner yesterday. I mean, Johan Zarco, I really just hope he does score some sprint points here today, because he's riding his heart out. Look at this gang behind him, a gang of KTMs. He's got Acosta, Bastianini, Binder behind him, Aldeguer's keeping a watching brief as well. Come on, I was just going to say, looked like he was going to just run in a little bit hot and wide there, Acosta. He does indeed. Oh, Zarco is back on through.
And Bastianini through. Bastianini taking full advantage of that. He takes Acosta. Binder looking to do the same. Aldeguer's joining that battle too. We're trying to keep our eyes on this, but look at the top left of your screen. Alex Marquez now right in position to take the sprint lead away from his older brother.
What a battle this is, though, at the moment for 5th place. This is played right in the hands of Ralph Fernandez. He won't know it yet, but that massive melee behind him has given Ralph Fernandez serious breathing space in 4th spot. The gap then now to under 0.2 of a second. The Gian Antonio's getting on with it as well. Digia into the 37s, a 137.729 from the Gian Antonio. That was almost half a second quicker than Alex Marquez. Is the Gian Antonio going to be really ruining, taking too long to get through on Zarco at the start?
He's not out of this by any means. He was 0.6 quicker than Marc Marquez, and of course it's always tricky for the leader in any kind of race when there are spots of rain falling, because you're the first person to hit each corner, and of course the grip level might have changed from the last time you came through there. So Fabio Gian Antonio in quite a good position here. He can just watch what's going on ahead of him and just gradually close in on the Marquez brothers. Already through this lap, he's only now 1.2 seconds off the sprint lead. It was 1.6 at the start of the lap.
Alex almost tripping over the rear tyre of Marc on the brakes into the Pedrosa corner. You can just see starting to get bigger and bigger in the onboard picture is the flue yellow of Fabio Di Gianantonio's VR46 Ducati. Pedro Acosta and Bastianini having a right good old tut of a 6th and 7th. They keep swapping paintwork further down into the stadium section. Through Angel Nieto we go. Turn 9. Now Pellegrini turn 10. On board with Alex Marquez. When will Alex feel like it's his time to try and attack Marc? 73 versus 93 was the story of the start of 2025, wasn't it? This is the first time we've seen these two lock horns in 2026. Marc is so good on the brakes into the Lorenzo corner. You're going to have to be the latest of the late breakers to outdo Marc on the brakes into 13.
Yeah, Marc won't be easy to overtake, and Alex Marquez I'm sure will want to make it clean, but he might just have to get on with this, because it's going to be pass or be passed here. A 37.8 for Fabio Di Gianantonio. The Marquez brothers were nearly a second slower than him.
It looked like as well Alex just maybe charging a little bit hot in that last corner, lost a bit of exit speed because there was half a dozen bike lengths between him and Marc as they charged under the UFO here at the start position. Ralph Fernandez then still in 4th place. It looks like it'll be a lonely 4th place. Are we going to get Digia versus Marc at time, well, chapter 3 in 4 and 3 of our opening 4 sprints so far this year? Gian Antonio is a man on a mission right now, isn't he? The gap through sector 1 was down to under 0.8 of a second. It's now down to under 0.7 of a second. Game on Digia.
He will have zero hesitation at launching an attack on the Marquez brothers. Was he slightly wide there in the back of the picture coming through turn 6? We'll see if he has lost any time through the 3rd sector. Ralph Fernandez isn't too much slower than Digia either. Fernandez, look, you can see him on the very distinctive Trackhouse display in the back of the picture. He's cruising up to the back of them too.
That poor start from Marco Bezzecchi as around the outside goes Alex Marquez through turn 8, riding around the outside of brother Marc. Wow, made sure he had the inside line for turn 9. So for the first time in this sprint, Marc Marquez loses the lead. We are on lap 7 of 12 here. Marco Bezzecchi's being told that if he needs it, spare bike is ready for rain conditions. Surely he's not going to come in now. Marco Bezzecchi, a 138.727, actually on that last lap was quicker than Alex, who was then 2nd, but now leads. And so now, what has Marc got in response to this charge from Alex?
Yeah, did Marc just not have the confidence to carry the corner speed there through turn 8, or does he want to look at Alex Marquez and, you know, you can do the leading in these slightly sketchy conditions? Alex is going to try and bolt away at the front of the sprint here, and now it's Marc who's got the growing problem from behind of Fabio Di Gianantonio.
Yeah, and if it stays as is, Fabio Di Gianantonio will be going into tomorrow's Spanish Grand Prix still as the top Ducati in the MotoGP World Championship. This is brilliant, isn't it, by Digi? It could get better and better. Don't discount Ralph Fernandez, who's come from nowhere, having got himself out of that Zarco, Bastianini, Acosta, Aldeguer, Binder scrap. Ralph Fernandez now, he's the only rider in the 140s on that previous lap.
Yeah, the pace has really, really dropped off in this last lap or two, whether it's the intensifying rain or whatever it is. But the 37s that we were doing earlier on the sprint, as Alex now skids a little bit wide. Look how tentative they're being through turn 6. Of course, so few laps to go. I think they're all just going to stick at this unless it absolutely buckets down. You can see the pack behind there are starting to close up too. This is
it's teaming down.
It is bucketing down, and Toprak has gone down. They might be forced into pitting here.
No lean angle at all for the lead group going through turn 7. It's pouring down as they went through that 7th corner. This is now a race of survival. Who can keep it upright and on 2 wheels in quick succession? Razgatlioglu and Savadori go down. Simon Crayfile, the FIM Shield's going to have a close look at that one. Back at the front then, Alex Marquez has stretched his lead to over half a second clear of Mark. It looks like at this part of the circuit the rain has eased off, but clearly we saw from the outside camera looking at turn 7, oh no, it's pouring down. Now on the brakes in the final corner. They are on a right old tightrope now, aren't they? Mark's gone down. Marc Marquez has bailed out. Alex Marquez ahead of him had a massive moment on the front, and Marc Marquez has crashed in this sprint here from pole position. He's going to drop out of the point scoring places, surely. Davide Tolozzi can't believe it. The reigning world champion on the deck.
We've got a KTM in the pit lane. Trying to work out which one it is. I think it's Brad Binder, who of course famously made a gamble to stay out in Austria. He, Pecco Bagnaia and Frankie Morbidelli, and now of course through necessity Marc Marquez, they have pitted for a change of bikes.
Well, we promised you drama pre-sprint. The rain has started to fall then. We're on lap 9 of 12. Alex Marquez 1.1 seconds clear of Fabio Di Gianantonio. Marc Marquez heading back out on circuit now on a wet shod Michelin factory Ducati. Jack just saying is absolutely bucketing down right now in pit lane. Here are your top 2 then on the road. Alex Marquez, look at that, no lean angle whatsoever. I mean, Alex could push this Ducati around that Pedrosa corner faster right now.
So this is looking very, very good for Brad Binder all of a sudden. He is the leading rider in the race on the wet tyres. You can see left-hand side of your screen is the indicator next to their names, which indicate they've changed bikes, as now we've got a crash for Jack Miller. So now both of the Pramac Yamahas on the floor.
Somebody else is down by the side. Yes, Alex! I was going to say, I could hear my headset. There was another rider that's crashed out. So Marc Marquez crashes out of 2nd place at turn 13, and in treacherous conditions. This is a mistake, so easy to mistake. There was no lean angle there for Alex. He was just barely tipping in, and down he goes. Alex Marquez then crashes out of the lead. Fabio Di Gianantonio now, well, he could ride a scooter around here quicker than a MotoGP bike in these conditions. Just look at him. He barely dares carry any lean angle whatsoever.
Yeah,
it is absolutely pouring down. Ralph Fernandez there behind him was still out on slick tyres. Pedro Acosta has also crashed out. Here comes Digia into pit lane. He'll be quickly followed by Ralph Fernandez.
So we need to keep an eye out for where this lot rejoin in relation to Binder. Pecco Bagnaia has all of a sudden turned on its head for Bagnaia. He could be in 2nd place very shortly. Binder, Bagnaia and Marc Marquez, who remember was on the floor just before he pitted. That might have actually just saved Marc Marquez's bacon.
Is this our first ever flag-to-flag sprint? It is, I'm going to say. I don't recall ever having one previously. Well, we had our closest ever sprint podium here in 2023, and there's been more high drama.
Binder's just gone through
Fabio Di Gianantonio then on his spare bike. Fermin Aldeguer on the road on the Gresini Ducati is leading this sprint. He's 9.6 seconds clear of Brad Binder, who we know has changed bikes. We know Binder has come in and gone on to his wet spec KTM.
So Brad Binder is 5.7 seconds ahead of Pecco Bagnaia, who will take 2nd place.
Oh, Binder's crashed.
That's Binder, who was going to lead the race.
No,
so
it's not.
it's the 33. Brad Binder's on the floor. So Pecco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez, who were separated by less than a second, they're now battling for the lead of this sprint match.
Binder's picked that KTM up. You can just see how much dirt there is and dust. Oh, now Bezzecchi, the World Championship leader's gone down. He's just out on rain rubber as well. As you can see, a wet front tyre for Marco Bezzecchi. Unfortunately, trapped under that crash factory at Aprilia. Well, what did I say about 2.5 laps ago? This now is a sprint of survival, and that's exactly what it is.
This is essentially going to be the battle for the lead. Look, they've already caught Aldeguer. Pecco Bagnaia is about to take the lead of this Tito sprint, and after crashing 2 laps ago, Marc Marquez is right behind him.
MotoGP insanity here in Jerez. Can you believe this? Marc Marquez crashed 3 or 4 laps ago in the final corner, yet here he is all over the rear tyre. He's going for the lead. Oh, that's going to be really, really close. Super aggressive by Marc on the inside of Bagnaia into the Angel Nieto corner. This is a hark back to 2 years ago in the main Grand Prix. Is in between these two, 93, sticking it to 63. The crowd are on their feet. They're getting drenched. They're getting soaked, but they do not care one jot, because can you believe this? Marc Marquez, when on slick tyres as the rain started to fall heavily, crashed right here at this corner. It looked like it was game over. I suppose he was forced to crash at turn 13. He crashed at turn 13 and could just remount, cut across back on the circuit, move straight away into pillar. He'd have been one of the first to go onto wets, wouldn't he?
Jack Miller's got a double long lap penalty. That's the least of his problems. Speeding in the pit lane, he's already been on the floor. So it's Marc Marquez from Pecco Bagnaia, Morbidelli's third, Di Gianantonio second of the Alpine Ducati's fourth. Binder has picked it up and is still in 5th ahead of Fernandez, Quartararo, Marini and Bastianini at the moment is in the final points position.
So 2 riders at the moment in the top 5 have crashed on different sets of tyres in this sprint as well. Binder was already out on wets when he went down. Fermin Aldeguer, he's going to rather somewhat reluctantly maybe jump onto his sped, like he just stayed out way too long on the Michelin slicks. So Marc Marquez is going to potentially win his 17th sprint here to tie Jorge Martin's sprint winning record in the most weird and wonderful of circumstances. What a way for MotoGP to return from its unexpected spring sojourn. Marc Marquez then is now starting to really break away from Bagnaia in second place. Just look how much spread. This is the wettest this track has been all day here today. What a time for the heavens to open, as Marc Marquez then, having crashed early on in this sprint, is now leading and on course for sprint win 17.
And this is how he took it from Pecco Bagnaia. He basically left Pecco with no option. Jump out of my way, Pecco. I want the gold medal and the 12 points. I have to say, given that Bagnaia was riding around in 15th place in the dry before it rained, I'm sure he would quite happily take a silver medal.
Stark raving bonkers this sprint has been here in Jerez. The drama may not has yet finished. We certainly hope not. Marc Marquez in torrential rain tiptoes his way through the final corner. There's no cover on this main grandstand here in Jerez, but you can see just at the bottom of your picture the crowd are going wild. The crowd are going ballistic. 4.4 kilometres then between Marc Marquez on the unlikeliest of sprint victories. Pecco Bagnaia second. Frankie Morbidelli has come from 18th on the grid. He's going to be on the podium here now, Frankie.
Yeah, the riders at the back of the field who had nothing to lose by just changing bikes when the rain got heavier, they are going to benefit. Morbidelli and Bagnaia, and of course Binder would have done the same. Binder would have been leading this had he not gone down after changing to the wet weather tyres. He might still, if he has an incredible final, he might still salvage a podium.
Diogo Moreira from the back of the grid's got himself back into very familiar territory. The Brazilian now up into P13 once again. He's ahead of Pedro Acosta, who we know has been on the road as well. Brad Binder, oh, he'll be really regretting the chance of throwing away a rare visit to the sprint podium. Just look now, there's almost standing water on the outside of the Pedrosa corner. Marc Marquez then, I mean, he has won some balmy races and balmy sprints in his career, but surely this is going to rank up there with the very best of them, because as it stands with a 1.5 second lead over Pecco Bagnaia, having crashed out of second place behind brother Alex just as the rain really did start to pour down, we thought, well, that was it, game over, and yet here he is, 10 minutes later, about to take the checker flag first.
Binder has taken 4th from Fabio Di Gianantonio. When we look back, and you just look back at the results on Wikipedia in a few years' time, and you see that it was a Ducati 1-2 in the Jerez sprint of 2026, you'll feel, well, that was a pretty boring sprint. It was anything but.
It has been remarkable. It has been unbelievable. It has been nothing short of pure theatre, pure drama here in Jerez at the corner where just a few moments ago Marc Marquez crashed out of contention. He powers out of the final corner to take victory in a truly sensational sprint here in Spain. where do you even start to tell the story, to tell the tale of that 12-lap sprint here at the Circuito de Jerez? Angel Nieto, having crashed at turn 13 around the halfway point, Marc Marquez eventually, somehow, quite ludicrously, has taken the win by over 3 seconds from his factory Ducati teammate Pecco Bagnaia, who came from 10th on the grid. Frankie Morbidelli, I mean, has anybody come from lower on the grid in a sprint to take a podium? 18th to 3rd for the VR46 Ducati rider. Morbidelli's 4th ever sprint podium. Brad Binder crashed on rain tyres. Surely Binder was going to figure in that battle for the win. He takes the checker flag 4th. The Gian Antonio is 5th. He was very late to pit from slick tyres. So too was Ralph Hernandez, who's 6th. Points for Quartararo, Zarco, who started 2nd, and Luca Marini in what truly was an absolutely ridiculous sprint here.
Well, the great point you made during the sprint, Marc Marquez wasn't pitting there. He'd made the decision to stay out, and this crash won him the sprint because he goes down, and that essentially made his mind up for him. You can see Tardozzi there saying, get the second bike ready. That Marc Marquez was essentially forced to change bikes by crashing here. You'll see him here now ride over to the left-hand side. He waits for the pack to go through, straight into pit lane, and this moment where he moved over to the wet bike essentially won him this sprint.
He never even considered rejoining the sprint, did he? His mind was made up straight away. It's pointless trying to rejoin here. I'm just gonna roll the dice, come into the pit lane and get on the wet shod bike. This was the key moment. This was a hard old move he put on Pecco Bagnaia into the Angel Nieto corner. At this point, the crowd were going crazy. They still are after that epic classic sprint here in Jerez. Marc Marquez on the floor, yet somehow he still wins with a bike swap by over 3 seconds. I know it's only been, what, 3 or 4 weeks since Austin, but MotoGP, we really have missed you. And thanks for serving up yet more unrivaled drama.
We have had some sprints this year, haven't we? The 4 we've had, in their own unique ways, have all been absolute barnstormers. And I don't think I'd ever thought I'd say that a rider crashes and still wins a 12-lap sprint. That's Marc Marquez for you.
Stories galore. You could write a book, couldn't you, on that sprint? So much happened. We have a sprint winning time of 21 minutes, 25.6 seconds from the number 93, Marc Marquez. But you could write a novel based on what we've just witnessed. Thank you once again, Jerez. I guess we could say to some rather inclement Spanish weather. We normally get blazed in sunshine in this part of Andalusia, don't we? But the rain really did throw a monumental spanner in the works in that sprint. And at the end of it all, Marc Marquez rather cheekily and rather sarcastically throws himself into the gravel trap. That's his second crash of that sprint.
Well, famously, he crashed here and his career was potentially never the same again when he crashed here back in 2020. Today's T-shirt sprint may be the best crash of his life.
Here is Marco Bezzecchi's disastrous start.
Was he on a tear-off?
Was he on a tear-off? I was going to say a tear-off did get flipped up there, didn't it? Of course, there was... it looked like Marc Marquez Phillip Island 2024 on his grid slot here. Marco Bezzecchi in 4th. I mean, talk about bad luck. Rotten luck. He's going to just, his rear tyre is sat right on top of a tear-off. Right on top of a tear-off. I mean, how's your luck? That is dreadful luck, isn't it, for Marco Bezzecchi?
Couldn't quite see whose tear-off it was, but it's immaterial really now. And of course, Marco Bezzecchi did then go on to crash, having changed to the wet tyres. You can't really blame any rider for crashing in the kind of scenario they were faced with here. They could see with the wet tyres on, Bezzecchi went down later on. It's impossible to know where he might have ended up because there was so much happening. But Marco Bezzecchi, of course, with Martin having those front brake issues right at the start of the sprint, which feels like a lifetime ago now, Bezzecchi does still have that 4-point lead. The top 3 in the sprint all failed to score, which plays beautifully into the hands of the reigning champion.
I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. MotoGP is the greatest motorsport show on earth. That was just pulsating. It was nail-biting from the first corner to the last corner. It just had a little bit of everything, didn't it? Bike swaps, crashes. I mean, Alex Marquez, we have to mention him in dispatches. He was looking so good in the dry. and then he crashed out of the lead at turn 8. The maestro conducting his own orchestra here, conducting his own choir. The man will make a right racket long into the night here in Jerez. Come rain or shine, they are some of the most fanatical and fervent fans we have on the MotoGP World Championship calendar. And what a sprint. Frankie Morbidelli, 18th on the grid to 3rd at the end of that sprint. Let's get his thoughts with Jack.
Frankie, what a performance from 18th on the grid to now being stood on the sprint podium. Just talk us through a crazy sprint and the decision-making process to pit obviously at the correct time.
Crazy race. I was there behind the whole group, and crazy things happened. And yeah, I had the luck to go to the pit box earlier than everybody. I followed Pecco, and this amazing result came. I want to dedicate this result for the people who's suffering, who's thinking that they have no chance, who's thinking that they are worse than everybody. My thoughts are with them. I think about them, and I dedicate this kind of podium in that way. He has no chance, he cannot make the results, he has no speed, he has no whatever. And here we are. I'm really pleased. I thank everybody inside the team, and I dedicate this podium to the people who are suffering.
Always keep believing. Well done, Frankie. Great ride.
Thank you.
Always keep believing indeed, Jack. Never give up, never accept that you're beaten. He's a deep thinker, isn't he? Is Frankie Morbidelli. What a performance. Like, look at Davide Tardozzi. He's gone from head in hands and anguish to just complete and utter joy. Look, he can't believe it, can he? As he embraces first Pecco Bagnaia in second place. We have to remind you, so Ducati Lenovo 1-2. Marc Marquez
the
leading
weirdest
home.
1-2 they've ever had.
Pecco Bagnaia. I mean, Mark trying to explain what happened there to his crew chief, Marco